Okay, so first we want to factor out the GCF. So we know all these terms are divisible by 3. What is 9x squared divided by 3? 3x squared. What is negative 24x divided by 3? Negative 8x. And 12 divided by 3? Plus 4. So again, now we're just focusing on these numbers inside the parentheses. So let's label our A, B, and C. So just looking inside the parentheses, what's A? 3. What is B? And C, 4. You guys don't have to color code unless you want to, but I'm just going to just show where I'm getting these numbers from. So we have our first term, 3x squared. That's where I got the 3. And then we have our second term, negative 8x. So that's where we got negative 8. And then our C term is that last term. Okay. Then we want to figure out in our x. Now the way this one's different, it's A times C. So what is A times C? 12. So A is 3, C is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And then we still do our B value. What's our B value? Negative 8. Okay, so when we're listing our factors, this is where that flow chart comes in handy. So we know they need to multiply to a positive and add to a negative. So if we go back to the flow chart, so first we're looking at C or A times C. So our C value is positive 12, so I go to this positive. Then I look down here, my B value is negative 8, so I would go to B is negative. And that tells us that both factor pairs are negative, because a negative times a negative is going to give us a positive, and a negative plus a negative will add up to a negative. So this is why this flowchart helps you figure out your sign. So we know both numbers need to be negative. So first, when you're figuring out your factors, if you're struggling to figure out factors, divide numbers by 12. Like start with 1. 12 divided by 1 is 12. So that means 12 and 1 are factors. And then with my flowchart, I know they both have to be negative. So negative 12 and negative 1. Then add those together. What is negative 12 plus negative 1? All right, we know it needs to be negative 8, so we can't use that. Then go to 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 and 2 are our factors. Okay, I know they both need to be negative. Negative 6 and negative 2. What do those add up to? Negative 8. So these are the ones we want to use. So we would put negative 6 and negative 2. Find it quickly so you can write this down. All right, then if we're doing the box method, the first box is our squared term. Go back up to the parentheses. Which number's our squared term? 3x squared. So that goes on the first box. The last box is our C term. What was our C term? 4. So the first term, the x squared term always goes there. The constant, the last term always goes here. All right, then the two diagonal boxes have to add up to our middle term, negative 8x. That's where we just got these two factors. So we just have to put x next to them, negative 6x and negative 2x. So these two always have to have x. So whatever your factors are, just put an x. And it doesn't matter which, you could have put negative 2x here and negative 6 here, it doesn't matter. As long as they're both in those diagonal boxes. All right, then we have to work backwards. So here to color code, so these two added up to get that middle term, negative 8x. All right, then we have to work backwards. So normally I start with this first row, these two numbers. What is the greatest common factor of 3x squared and negative 6x? 3, what else? X. Okay, so something to remember, these two boxes will always have x in them, because if this term's always x squared, these have to have x times x to equal x squared. Also, these two boxes always have to be positive. So these will always be positive and have x. These can be positive or negative. These will never have x. Because like think about this last number is always a constant, so these numbers cannot have x to multiply to a constant. Okay, then work backwards. What's 3x squared divided by 3x? Yeah, right, just 1x or x. All right, then what's negative 6x divided by 3x? Negative 2. And then down here, negative 2x divided by x. Negative 2, and then just double check, negative 2 times negative 2 equals 4, so that shows us our correct factoring. All right, so then when we rewrite it in factored form down here, we have to also include that 3 that we factored out originally. So remember that 3 still goes on the outside of the parentheses. And then the numbers on the outside, or the terms on the outside of the box, that's what goes inside the parentheses. So like this 3x minus 2 goes in one parentheses, and then this x minus 2 goes in the other. Again, it doesn't matter which one you write first. You just have to put, like, if they're on the same side of the box, they go in the same side of the parentheses, or the same parentheses. So this would be your final answer. 3 times 3x minus 2 times x minus 2.